Good morning, everyone. This is John for MTG Nexus, doing some mono black aggro here in Pioneer. Something a little bit different than what we'd covered previously. Mostly in Pioneer, we've been playing Gruul and mono red aggro, and we've also played one or two leagues with blue white control. But this is kind of the de facto best aggro deck in the format right now, with mono red kind of taking a dip in the face of Niv, 5-color Niv, and some other stuff that have popped up. Ironically, one of the reasons mono red, chunky red, popped up in large numbers was the fact with Chain Whirler and such has a pretty decent matchup against the 1 toughness deck, even with a bunch of recurring soldiers. So it is something to note that there is a little bit of a cyclical thing going on with Pioneer already, even though it is a relatively new format. That said, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing, give us a thumbs up, and leaving a constructive comment down below, as we're mostly an aggressive channel for things like Standard, Modern, and Pioneer, with some other decks thrown in from time to time, but primarily we focus on aggressive decks here on this channel. So what makes Mono Black so special over some of the other choices in the format? The big thing with the deck is its recursion. Things like Bloodsoaked Champion, Dread Wanderer, Scrap Heap Scrounger. You could also play something like Gutterbones if you wanted to, but all of these have the unique ability to recur, which makes it a little bit difficult to deal with for decks like Blue White Control and stuff, who are mainly relying on sweepers to kind of control the board and such. Deck also has the most efficient removal in the format in the form of things like Fatal Push, Grasp of Darkness, and Murderous Rider. There are also some other cards that are dragged to the underworld, which is starting to pop up, which is basically almost the equivalent of what is that card from Modern? I can't remember. It's like from Innistrad. Black, kill, destroy target non-werewolf, non-vampire, non-something or other. Victim of Night, that's the card I couldn't think of. So, very efficient removal. Also, probably the best Thoughtseize deck in the format, because you're backing it up with a ton of pressure with 12 1-drops. Scrap Heap Scrounger, Murderous Rider, and then finishing things off with Rankle and Spawn of Mayhem. Split here largely because Rankle is a legendary, while Spawn of Mayhem, well, hopefully it's fixed. I thought it was fixed for the Boros video, and then it started echoing like 5 minutes through. So, hopefully it is fixed. Morning, Space Marine. Beyond that, the other powers you get to have used in the main deck are things like Mutavault and Castle Locthwain. Castle Locthwain allows you to have a steady stream of cards as long as you have some life. Then Mutavault, obviously, very good utility land, especially when you're attacking with... No, we managed to beat the last round. Anywho, beyond that, we have some Duresses here for some more discard against mid-range and control. Self-inflicted wound is here primarily because Niv is the biggest deck in the format, and being able to force your opponent to sacrifice a Sylvan Caryatid, a Siege Rhino, and Niv is pretty important when you're trying to pressure their life total. 3 Leyline of the Void, because there's a lot of decks abusing the graveyard right now, primarily being Lotus Field combo, but there are other decks that are trying to abuse the graveyard as well. Kalia's Trader or Get allows you to take on a more controlling role in some of the post-score games when you're bringing in a bunch of removal. Aethersphere Harvester gives you a little bit of ability to race other aggressive decks, and then Leona, just a nice card against some of the other aggressive decks, as well as the ability to recur some of your other threats. Beyond that, just the power of a bunch of aggressive creatures and kind of recursion a little bit, with backed up with good removal and discard. Usually a pretty good place to be in a lot of formats. There aren't too many decks that can compete with that on an easy level. Obviously, as we said, it does have a little bit of weakness to mono red, specifically with 4 copies of Goblin Chain Whirler, being able to outsize it. I would think that the deck full of counter spells would be pretty good against a deck full of, you know, clunky mid-range spells. But if they resolve a Teferi, could get a little rough. So we have a triple 1-drop start, but it looks like we might start with the mirror match. Yep. I swear Magic Online has like a sense of humor. So the one downside with this particular draw, or the deck as well, is Mono Black Aggro doesn't block very well. Forgot about that little detail. Might have been a mistake. It's possible I should have just waited to raid something this turn. Because it's likely our opponent's just going to... Sure. We're about to get wrangled. Yep. Interesting to see what our opponent actually does here. Each player discards a card. Interesting. It's the only effect they chose? Seems kind of loose. It's kind of funny that when the mirror was the big thing that opponent gets to discard a card and then immediately draw a card, so and they concede. I think being on the play there tremendously helpful, as well as having the 3/1 drops. So like the downside of the mirror match is I think both decks are probably trying to become controlling, but without additional removal, I don't know how good it is. And I'm not 100% sure like what cards you're supposed to take out in the mirror match. Like we're bringing in these 5. We don't have any dark betrayals or anything. It used to be kind of a big feature when the mirror match of this deck was a huge thing. So is it like Scrounger or Dread Wanderer. I suppose it's like some combination of like Scrounger and a Bloodsoaked Champion. Just because they can't block. Dude, anything that doesn't have counter spells and planeswalkers is boring to you, to be fair. Got one Thoughtseize on the draw. Burn matchup is kind of fun to watch. A lot of the aggressive matchups are... can we even keep this hand? I don't think so. Can only cast 2 spells in our hand. Feels like... Alright, so are we mulliganing to 5 here? Feels like we're mulliganing to 5. Back a spawn. Just put back both spawns? Yeah. I could run out Knight here, but if they have Fatal Push, just kind of like... That's the mana here, so no reason to really run it out. Yep. Could have pumped there, but we kind of get our entire turn blown out if they happen to have a... Actually, do I just Murderous Router one of these things? It's the most mana efficient play, but I don't know if it's the best play here. Especially if they have like a Kalitas or something. Yep, there's a Kalitas. Dude, I think you think everything that isn't blue-white control plays itself. I think the amount of decisions that mid-range and control decks have is a little overblown. Niv requires more thinking with a mana base than it does the actual spells themselves. I think Magic comes down to a couple of things. Interesting. Magic comes down to what deck are you innately good at piloting, and the fact of like what I think Magic is more. Well, you can play Jeskai all you want, but then you get wrecked by the decks that don't care about that stuff. You know, Lotus Field combo, Golgari Soulflare, Mono Green Ramp. Certainly plausible there. Okay, so you bring back a Scrounger, sure. I'm not saying its difficulty is overrated. I just think certain parts of the game are more difficult for certain people than others. Ouch. Well, that's one way to swing the game. I think more Magic, and I used to hate to admit to this to a friend, well, somewhat friend of mine, who used to say that Modern was more determined by what cards were in your deck than actually what cards you were playing. Legion's End Exiles. I think I just take this hit here. Way if we hit a removal spell, they're just dead. They're Dread Wanderer, and I can't. Dread Lethal with a Knight. Alright, we're dead on the backswing there. An Exile is a card, and all copies of it with converted mana cost 2 or less, and then looks at your hand, does the same thing. So say you have a Knight of the Ebon Legion in play and a Knight in your hand, it gets both. Kind of an absurd card. It's a sorcery, but it's still very powerful. Unfortunately, it looks like our opponent's a little bit better set up for the mirror match. At least in terms of the removal they're packing. But we also didn't see any of our sideboard cards, so... Hand's fine. A little bit slow, and we could potentially miss on land drops, but I think cutting some 1-drops... Why isn't Esper a control thing? Don't know. Honestly, don't know. Like I said, this hand's a little bit awkward, but very powerful if we have draw lands, and there's 22 more lands in our deck, so... This is a deck that consistently, when Smuggler's Copter was a thing, wanted to draw... the problem... One of the problems with decks in Pioneer is the mana isn't free. Like, there's a real cost adding a third color to your deck. Like, a huge cost adding a third color to your deck. Especially if you're not playing green. Yeah. Hoping we pump there. You obviously have a removal spell. Please use it. I don't know if I particularly like using Swift End there, but whatever. I understand what our opponent's trying to set up. They are low on resources, so hopefully they just have like a Kalitas here and we can run them down. No, and I'm not sure that a deck like Esper wouldn't want to play something like, deck like Esper wouldn't want to play something like, Thought Erasure over it anyway. So if they happen to have a play, we get to answer it. If not, we get to bring back Scrounger. Sure. You just bring back Scrounger first and then kill that the following turn. To Thoughtseize, kind of blow up what you have going on over there. Kalitas and Grasp of Darkness. I thought you were trying to set up a Kalitas. Alright, so the opponent needs to draw an answer to Rankle or they're dead. And good game. Kind of funny how long the mirror match takes a little bit. On a play, which is nice. This hand, however, is obviously garbage. This hand's fun. So what are we pitching here? Rankle, I guess? I was just too tired last night. I've been getting up at 8 for work, and then, like, being stuck at work till 10 just was my stupidity for trying to plan a stream at that late at night. Sorry about that, Space Predator. It's possible I could have let on Knight there and held up Fatal Push, but Castle Garenberg decks, I suspect Fatal Push isn't going to be particularly effective. And this turn I probably get to crash for 7 and play Knight, which is nice. Actually, how does Locked-Wing work with Urborg? Is everything a swamp so it just comes into play untapped? Hey, no problem, man. I apologize for that. I should know better. Oh, so we are against ramp. Interesting. Talk about awkward. Alright, that's actually nice, because we get to go push your elf. We're out Scrounger. Have on 3 mana. Elvish Rejuvenator. Also needed to get the stream in this morning because I'll be headed up to Cleveland for AEW show today. So, gonna be a long day off today. Okay. So, get to accelerate to 4 mana. Thanks, Ken. We'll do. Thanks for all the support, man. It really means a lot. So, I think we'll just bash in for a bunch here and hope to put our opponent dead to whatever their big play is next turn. We get to bring in, what, self-inflicted wound? Yeah, I worked last night. So a weird arrangement where I have to... Arboreal Grazer, sure. No land, okay. Four mana... Walking Ballista. Okay, that's sort of a thing, I guess, ish. Still 95% sure you're dead on board. So, block here, shoot that. Still dead? Is that what I'm getting out of this? I don't see any scenario in which you... guess you can block, shoot. Block there. Block there. Shoot there. Still take 4? Like, I'm not seeing any way in which you... yeah. What, a mono black? It's a pretty good deck in the format. This is literally my first time playing it, so... So, Self-Inflicted Wound doesn't answer Eldrazi, but it does answer most of their green fatties, which include all their random mana dorks. So you get to kill, like, all the elves, all of the Rejuvenators and Arboreal Grazers and all that nonsense, as well as Cavalier of Thorns. Obviously, it's not great if they get to, like, World Breaker and stuff, but I think if we don't have an overwhelming board presence at that point, we're losing anyway. Thoughts... The problem then becomes, like, what's actually bad against them? That is an interesting question. Like, is it possible we don't actually want Self-Inflicted Wound? We just literally want to submit 75? I'm honestly not sure on that one. Like, we can potentially shave a Thoughtseize, potentially. Could shave, like, a Self-Inflicted Wound. Shave a Rankle, because, you know... Legendaries can be annoying. I don't know that you want Kalitas in this matchup, Kenneth. You only want Kalitas in the matchup where you have the potential to be the control deck. And we are definitely the aggressor in this matchup. Like, they have things like Ugin and such that you just don't want to be messing with 4-drops that don't impact that aren't, like, hammering them hard. And Kalitas is definitely more of a control card. Like, I could definitely see bringing it in. I'm not saying no completely. I'm just like, I don't think it's a card we particularly want in this matchup. Wow. Awkward bad swamp over here. This hand's a lot better. Not great, but better. We at least have pressure. Fortunately, I think these rankles... wrestling show. For All Elite Wrestling up in Cleveland today. I'm a WWE fan and a AEW fan, so... Feels like this format is almost as bipolar on play draw as modern is in some ways. I believe they are on TNT. They're kind of a newer company. They started up within the last year or so. Am I supposed to just... I can't bring back Dirt Wanderer, so I guess we're just running out Scrounger. Oh, the opponent is on Mono Green Eldrazi ramp. So if we get hit... If they have a land drop here, we're probably going to get hit by a Cavalier of Thorns, and that's pretty much going to be the game. Yep. Spatial Contortion. And see, this is what I mean about not bringing Kalidas. Like, our 4-drops here aren't going to be doing anything. In fact, if we don't draw, like, a removal spell this turn, the game is pretty much over. Because our opponent gets to stabilize. And they also have an Arboreal Grazer. So, I guess we just play Rankle and hope they get silly here. Like, it was really funny, play versus draw. Actually attacking. That's scary. Am I getting World Breakered? I am. Oh, okay, let's see what they fetch first, if they fetch anything. And they get to blow up one of our creatures, which is kind of scary. The only reason I'm still playing this game is I'm curious what they're going to fetch with Sanctum. If there's just another World Breaker, it's kind of whatever. This game's already lost, we're just playing for knowledge at this point. One of the downsides of this format is it really feels like it's really kind of hard to regain momentum once you kind of lose the momentum again. Especially against a deck that goes so much bigger than you. Like, we had some early pressure, but our opponent was on the play, and we had no removal, so... Alright, so they're just getting Walking Ballista. No, we can go ahead and concede here. Question is on the play, do we even want Thoughtseize? Like, there are some games where Thoughtseize is wonderful, don't get me wrong. And they are a ramp deck. I don't know, I'm really torn between the third Thoughtseize and the Self-Inflicted Wound. Well, to be fair, even if we had Hushbringer, still feel really bad to try to fight through a 5/6 reach creature and a 5/7 reach creature. So even without the ETB effects, I think we were in some trouble here. So now this is a hand where Thoughtseize could be potentially very good. So the problem here is if we don't Thoughtseize on one and they have a 1-mana accelerant, we have no one to answer it. But I still think I'm supposed to get pressure on the board first. And then Thoughtseize on turn 2 with the other Bloodsuck Champion. Maybe we'll draw a Fatal Push, and if they have a 1-mana accelerator here, yep. That's the unfortunate part. Let me just attack with Bloodsuck Champion first. See if they block, which they inevitably won't. Thoughtseize you. Pilgrimage and Rejuvenator. So no matter what we do here, they have another blocker next turn. So I guess we take Rejuvenator and force them to take their turn out with Pilgrimage. So their hand was lacking a payoff. Yep. There's the Pilgrimage. So now I'm in the awkward spot of, do I kill their accelerator or do I play Scrounger and just get on the board more? Because they could have started having Cavalier as soon as next turn, but that gave them 2 draw steps to find something. I think I'm just going to apply pressure to the board, and we can always just kill their threat if they happen to have drawn one. Of course, she drew the Cavalier. Yep, I get to put curious what they're actually going to put on top here. Probably Thought-Knot here, which is unfortunate, but one, two, three, four, five, six. Okay, so they're going to get to Pilgrimage and play Thought-Knot. That's a little rough. Perilous Vault, really? So are they going to go through an entire turn cycle without doing anything? One more combo. I'm going to get hit by, good old Spatial Contortion. So their hand is Thought Knot Seer and one unknown at this point. Thought they put Thought Knot back on top. I guess they didn't. Their hand's just all lands. Problem is we have like no pressure in play right now. I'm curious what their mistake was game one. Space Marine, you probably will get more mileage out of linking it in the comments whenever the video goes up anyway. Just because there's only 6 people currently viewing, so if you really want more bang for your buck, you're probably better off putting it in the comments. I mean, I could have you send the link and then post the link myself, but I honestly think you get more bang for your buck doing it that way. I don't think this hand's aggressive enough. Like, we have none of our 1-drops. This is a functional hand. Do I keep it, though, is the question. I'm going to say the mulligan. Mulligan into a far worse hand. Sure. Get rid of Rankle and Mutavault. Oh, what you gonna try, Ken? So are we up against inverter combo? Is that what this feels like? Yeah, it feels like inverter combo. Oh, Frostodon? I still don't know what my conclusion about Frostodon is yet. Like, it feels like there should be more matchups where it's actually useful in than I've seen it so far. Is this just like blue-black control? If it's any consolation, Space Marine, this is kind of showing you how embarrassing control decks have with mono black. Do I even want to fire a Mutavault here? I think so. You can try, man, but you haven't had the best you haven't had the best luck with YouTubers or anybody in general that has to do with YouTube overall in terms of stuff like that. Yeah, you have. What was that one chick's name? She was a Magic streamer that you had the hots for. Redhead. Dude. Gonna presume there's not much to Fatal Push in their deck. Could bring in Harvester just as a harder to answer threat, but it is a little bit on the slow side. do I want to cut like all of my removal? Maybe not. I wish you good luck, but people in the entertainment business have to use every thing to their advantage. No, I haven't. I just looked her up. Yeah, she's attractive. I'm not going to deny that. But I don't know anything about her, so I'm going to say this as a general precaution. People in the entertainment industry have to use any type of advantage or any type of, how do I put it? Any type of benefit or any type of whatever that they have. And that includes looks, that includes flirting, that includes, any of that kind of stuff. So just be cautious when dealing with someone who is a well-developed celebrity. Like, I really want to see you happy, Space Marine. I really don't want you chasing situations that are just bad for you, man. Okay, well, we've established two things. They are inverter combo, and they also have Cryopranarium in their deck. So I'm going to take Censor, because the rest of our hand doesn't particularly care about Cryopranarium right now. Yep, 1 for 1, sure. So their hand is Oracle, Cry, 1 unknown. Yeah, just cast Murderous Rider here. Yeah, threat on the board. Glad I didn't run face first into that Cry, though. So what could they have in their hand that they didn't run out Thassa's Oracle? Well, yeah, it just makes sense. It's a good thing for... Sure. Still doesn't explain why they didn't run out the Thassa's Oracle. Losing a Mutavault kind of sucks, but... eh. Definitely feels like they're an Inverter of Truth deck. Do I even commit anything else to this board? Guess Bloodsoak Champion doesn't really matter if we commit that too. Well, I'm sure they're not great, but at the same time... So I hit the wrong file there. I don't think they're great, man, but like in the end, when you're only playing 2 colors, there's only so many. Like, they don't have the fast lands. They don't have I honestly think the temples are underplayed in control decks, honestly. And another deck I'm surprised hasn't made its return was that, so Space Marine, you were talking about the mono red deck that did so well that your blue-white control deck like to prey on. I'm curious why the blue-black mid-range deck that did so well that standard season also hasn't popped up. One's mulliganing to 5. Shouldn't get too cocky. After all, we just did win a game on the mulligan to 5, so... I have no idea. I mean, I know it's Hinterland Harbor. I'm just like trying to identify what deck it could possibly be. Lotus Field combo, maybe? I don't think they run... most likely Simic Eldrazi ramp. Yeah, it's Simic Eldrazi ramp. Wah, wah. Oh wow. One, two, three, four. Gives them access to 6 mana next turn. So I think we gotta kill one of the accelerators because they obviously need to draw a land drop. Don't even know that they can afford to block Knight of the Ebon Legion here. So, like, I could put 2 more threats on the battlefield. Actually, is that better? Like, if they tap out for a 5-drop, or close to a 5-drop, like Cavalier of Thorns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 power in play. Oh, I agree Castle Garenberg is dumb. But am I supposed to kill a dork, or am I just supposed to, like, completely flood the board and hope they tap out for something stupid and we can Murderous Ratter it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 11, 13 if you count Mutavault if we draw a more efficient removal spell next turn. I think I'm just supposed to jam, go as wide as possible. Like, obviously we're not winning a long game against them, but our only removal spell here, tagging a dork here, would be kind of eh. Yeah, it feels like they're tapping out for something big. Yep. So if we actually happen to hit something... Alright. Alright, and opponent concedes. So once again, self-inflicted wound seems pretty decent in small numbers. Still not 100% sure what we're supposed to board out in its place. It's possible we're just supposed to leave in present our 75 and attack, or present the same 60. Rankle can be a little bit slow. So, curiosity kill the cat here. Simic ramp. So, they run the petitioners. And Aggro is their other big payoff. They run a lot of one-mana accelerators. Other than that, they're just kind of like the Simic deck. Or the mono green deck, I meant. Yeah, this hand's perfectly keepable. We have to spend our first turn, unfortunately, fatal pushing one of their idiots, but depends on which one it is. Obviously, if they have Grazer, it doesn't make much sense to push their dude. Yep. So, bolt the bird, so to speak. Once again, play versus draw, huge in these matchups. We didn't have another 1-drop. So we get to go double 1-drop here. Self-inflicted wound, whatever you play next turn, if it isn't Anissa's Pilgrimage. That's probably just Pilgrimage. It's one disadvantage of inflicted wound being a sorcery. You know what's great about having a mana sink, though? Get to deal your opponent a lot of damage. Oh my. Carotid. Start by Thoughtseize, you know? Wow, your hand's total trash. It's primarily for Sylvan Caryatid out of the whatchamacallit decks. I don't even know that we actually do anything with Rankle here. We really don't want them drawing gas. Do nothing. Please just be Cavalier of Thorns. Don't be World Breaker. Nope, it's a World Breaker. This is an Ulamog? No, Large Walking Ballista. Okay. I don't even know why I'm pumping here. They're just going to kill my other guys anyway, so just keeping myself from drawing a card. Alright. So we've pounded 2 ramp decks into the ground, pounded the inverter deck into the ground, and then beat a mirror match. Though to be fair, I think the ramp matches are a little bit closer than they let on. Also, the reason... Yeah, it's pretty much the only reason is carotid. Because everything else you want to kill... Because it's primarily aimed for the Niv decks. And the things you want to kill on that deck, Siege Rhino, Carotid, and Niv are all green or white creatures. Plus, Self-Inflicted Wound does have the benefit of they lose 2 life as opposed to you gain 1 life. So when you're trying to be the aggressive deck against a mid-range deck, you tend to want to do the thing. So we are on the draw. I think this hand's perfectly fine on the draw. I think on the play you really want to prioritize the 1-drops, but when you're on the draw, it's a little less important, especially when you have like double removal spell or removal spell and a scrap heap and a spawn. So we still have a threatening enough hand with the ability to run down our opponent while also having some control elements if our opponent's another aggro deck. Keep. And just like that, we draw 1 drop. Oh, spirits. Interesting. Possibly devotion. Curious obsession. That's going to be a little bit rough. Hopefully you missed on a land drop. Ooh. I almost feel bad for them. But then I remember how annoying Spirits was before, so then I don't feel so bad. Then I don't feel so bad. Though to be fair, we are kind of running out of removal spells here, so... I am obviously risking a land drop here, running in face first into a spell queller, but if they want to trade land for land, I'm perfectly happy to make that trade. So they've hit a land drop every turn since they missed their first one. Okay. Curious Obsession or another oh boy. Whoa, mama. Maybe. I think the deck's actual bad matchup is Chunky Red. It's the deck that actually drove it in the lower part of the meta for a little while. Chain Whirler happens to be pretty good against deck full of X1s. Who knew? Because it's really hard to... Like, we're probably dead on the crack back here, but... You know. No, but they're kind of useless on a battlefield with a 3/3 for a striker too. Okay. And it's really hard to say if that's a bad matchup. I'm sure it's not a great matchup, but like, remember, we were on the draw, and they hit land drop, land drop, land drop on a hand that was obviously loaded. So, Harvester, Kalidas, and that can probably all come in. Thoughtseize can probably all go out. And then maybe a copy of Scrappy here. Feels dangerous to bring in this many. I'm supposed to shave a Wrangle. So we are bringing in a lot of 4-drops, 3 and 4 drops. Maybe I was supposed to bring in Self-Inflicted Wound. This hand's a little bit... Still think we keep it, but this hand's a little eh. Oh, we're going to play this game again. Gotcha. Cool. Please, by all means, put your Curious Obsession on your creature. I will even let it resolve. Sure. So I could jam into Queller here. Just attack with Bloodsoak, see what happens. They want to spell Queller this and give me back a Doomblade later. Go right ahead. Yep. Seems dubious. I'm feeling this is going to get Spell Queller though. Yep. That's a little rough. I would like one of my finest Doomblades, please. Well, still draw a Grasp of Darkness. Oh, I have Revolt, don't I? This is going to feel real bad. We're still behind, but at least in a game of Mutavault versus it's Settle the Wreckage. That's a card. Sure. Attack with everything but Mutavault. I really don't want to be just randomly dead to their Mutavaults. Oh, they had a second Settle the Wreckage. Delightful. Locked face first into that one. Yeah. Yes and no, Jan. I'll stream where I can. Some things are just going to be uploads, some are going to be streams. Okay. I don't think there's a single draw that gets us out of this, per se. Because we're going to 2. So... yeah, that's not it. That's kind of an unfortunate ending to the league, but still pretty nice run for the first time out with mono black aggro. I do think Space Marine is somewhat right that that matchup doesn't feel great with Spirits. But I also think I made some tactical mistakes in that game. But Spirits is one of those decks that kind of rewards you for playing with and against it a lot, and haven't seen a ton of it in Pioneer yet, so until I play that matchup more or play against the deck more, I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to be playing or jamming into things or not jamming into things, etc. So, but 4-1, beat a couple ramp decks, beat the Mirror, beat the blue-black inverter deck. But beyond that, definitely have to play the deck more to get some idea of what the flex slots in the sideboard should be, etc. But it was a lot of fun. I want to thank everybody for hanging out this morning. Space Marine, Jan, Ken. Trying to see who else been floating around this morning. Space Predator, if you're still hanging out. Just want to thank everybody for decks of mono black aggro is prevalent. Probably not. The only 2 white decks in the format right now are Heliod Combo and what's up, Foz? Lurking as always. Heliod Combo and Knights. Knights could consider it, but they have so many. Knights see the white deck has like the ultimate trump card in these colored mirrors because they have access to Brave the Elements, which is just the 1 card KO. So, anywho, catch you guys all later. It's like the old streaming family reunion here with Foz and Jan and Space Marine. So, alright, hope to catch you guys all later. This has been John for MTG Nexus.